What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Dre the Brute Daniels. Welcome to an episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the NPS community, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game. I want to talk to you. So today we got ourselves a very, very excellent guest. He is the owner of Quantum Entanglement Publishing. Give it up, everybody, for Xing Xin.
Hey.
What is going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on the show, and I can't wait to jump into all your fantastic work.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So before we get into all that cool stuff, because God knows I've seen the work and it looks amazing, let's just get to know you a little bit there, Xing. So who are you? Where are you from? How did we get here?
So I'm Xing Xin. I've kind of lived everywhere. I've been drawing and writing for as long as I can remember. Right now I'm residing in Vineland, New Jersey, and I've been here about a year now, and I own Quantum Entanglement Publishing, and I'm also a TV executive producer and writer at the Global Genesis Group, where that's my main job, and then the publishing is the connecting job to that. And I've got lots of stuff happening with that I can get into as we go with the interview and things that are going on. And but my label specializes in publishing wuxia style graphic novels.
Wow, really? That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, manga's cool. I grew up around that stuff, but I always found that wuxia for me was far more interesting and inspiring. And so many years of studying that, still studying it from the masters who are out there, and the manhwa, and you know, it's brought me to where I'm at today.
Wow, that's a mouthful to take in. Okay, all right, so let's just break down a little bit. So okay, everybody's gonna kill me if I don't ask. Xing Xin, it's a great name. Is this a birth name? Because it definitely has Asian descent there, but you and I, we kind of resemble the same shade here. So where's the lineage coming from?
So my grandmother is Taiwanese and Chinese, and so I grew up in a household and with a family that is half Asian. So that was just a cultural influence that I was around, and it's a nickname, middle name that I've had for years, and so that's just what I go by. So if you looked at my cousins and you looked at me, you would think there is no way they can be related, but we are. We just have all different dads, but all of our moms are sisters.
Okay, awesome. Because I definitely had to ask, because that's really cool, man. That's awesome. So let me ask you. Before we get into this, I'm definitely gonna ask you about that TV exec stuff. That's for certain. I don't know where to start with that. But what would you say was your start into getting into all that stuff? Did you grow up a fan of comics or of graphic novels? Like as far as your origins go, like what kind of inspired you to start getting into the media and comics and stuff?
I mean, growing up, I was always a fan of fantasy, of mythology. Always appreciated the history of other cultures that were much older than ours here in America, and many of the things that they believed and would cling to, as far as great heroes and great beasts and these epic adventures that they would go on. And then growing up, before anime and manga and those things became culturally acceptable here, especially like in the early to mid 2000s. Growing up as a child, I had seen so much of that stuff as a kid. getting into my early teens, and so I was very familiar with it. And the the way that it works culturally, the way they approach it, it's a thought process that is different than how they think here in the West. For so many years, especially Western style comics, they've kind of been this subdued way of, it is action, but it isn't. And they were only pushing so many boundaries, where in Europe, in Asia, they were far exceeding those things decades ago. They were already ahead of those curves. And so growing up with that, being a fan of course, Professor Tolkien, a huge fan of Homer, look at the Iliad, look at the Odyssey.
I'm sorry, Homer Gillespie?
No, Homer, who wrote the Iliad.
Homer Gillespie. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yes.
No. I thought. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Xing.
No,
but
it's okay.
I've never heard anybody else reference Homer Gillespie's work in a long time. I'm a fan. I am a fan of his work as well. I love the Odyssey, and I love the story of Troy and stuff. It's great.
Exactly. I mean, it's those things where, you think about it, what happened in Homer's life that caused him to write these heroic tales the way that he did? Something in his life happened that he either saw, that he knew of, that he was aware of, and that influenced him to write these great tales that, look how many years, centuries and centuries have passed, and yet there are still things that people can cling to. Look at William Shakespeare and what he did with Hamlet, which is by far, I think, one of the greatest literary works that's ever been written.
Can't argue with that.
And so those are the kinds of things that I've always just kind of drawn to, and the Kalevala, which and a lot of that coming from places like Norway and where the Dutch are, and these great fantastical tales that are there. And so I always liked to draw. I liked telling stories, and I wanted to just tell my own story, and tell the story that I wanted to tell. But I wanted it. I knew I wanted it to be unique. And to have its own. It's just its own interpretation. That's not superhero. That isn't a carbon copy of things that are already established. And those are pitfalls that I've seen many creators fall into, where they literally are copying the aesthetics of another series and changing little bits here and there, and the series never goes beyond maybe 1 or 2 issues, especially before the era of Kickstarter, before I mean, I've been doing this 30 years, and I remember when there was no print on demand. There was no way to print the way it is now with things. And so I just started drawing and writing these stories when I was a kid, and then I just kept doing it, and it kept going, and then here we are.
That's really cool. Wow. And I love your arc of inspiration. I'm gonna call it that. Arc of inspiration, because it's not traditional American style inspiration, which is really cool. Because like myself, traditional American inspiration. I was born, Batman was in my hand. Plain and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's just how it went. But looking at how you were able to get inspired by classic literature, or less, or the folklores of old, that's really cool. And the fact that you pull inspiration from Homer Gillespie, which I thought I might be the only person left that actually still referenced that work. That is really cool, man. I really like that. That's nice. That's really nice. So go ahead, Xing, please.
Oh no, I was gonna say I appreciate it. I appreciate that It's like when you meet people who value the same thing, you understand why. And the motive behind it, and how helpful it can be to learn from these people who accomplish these great deeds, far exceeding from our own. And that's how you keep learning and growing, and you have to keep doing that stuff every day, because it doesn't stop. It never stops.
The grind never ends.
Never ends.
Never ends. It never ends. That's great. So we got our nice origin story here. So how did we go from being a fan of all this work and all that great stuff to end up becoming TV executives? How in the world did we go from A to B?
So I spent, as I said, like 30 years of my life literally working on this story, Symphonic Verses. And I started trying to submit it to publishers, and no one would take it. Nobody.
No, that feeling.
I mean, no one was biting. And I submitted, and it rejected, submit, reject again and again, to now in excess of 160 rejections from every publisher, minus Marvel and DC, because they don't do the kind of thing, and so it's like I never even tried to go that way, because that's not how you do that. But no one would take it. And so I decided, well, no one will take it. I'll just self-publish it. Now, it is a very difficult task to take something that no one has heard of and no one can reference. If you say Superman, people can reference that. If
Absolutely.
You say Naruto, people will reference that. So to take something that's unknown and then try to get people to believe in it, that in itself is a completely challenging task, especially when you're not doing things that are as readily acceptable as a Western standard. You're doing something that visually looks different. The way the aesthetics of the story are done are different. And so it makes people not be interested. So I spent a very long time trying to develop the ways to attract people to the series. And so then I spent many years of trial and error developing the art, the way the writing style is. And I'm not saying these things like, oh, I think I do this great. No, I'm learning every day still how to do things. I don't think that I'm it's not like I'm some great literary expert, but I know how to write this story the way that it's supposed to be. I can't speak for other things, but I can speak for this the way that it should be.
Because it's your vision.
And so, right, just the vision, the way that I know I would like it to be. And so I set out to publish it myself. And so I started doing that. And I've not used crowdfunding to do it, just self. I take pre-orders just from the website. And so I opened the pre-orders. I didn't know how it was going to go. And this was in 2017.
Okay.
Is when I finally released because I spent all the years working to make it look the way that it did. And that whole time I was going to so many comic shows where I was selling just posters of colored art. 26 years ago, I was selling black and white copies of the book at shows, and I made them by, I had to figure out how pages are put together in sets of 4, and then I had to print them at like a printing place, and then staple them together and trim them. So they weren't the most
accurate.
accurate. They were, it was, but that was the process. So anyway, so I do all that, and then I open pre-orders, and they came flooding in. There were so many orders, it crashed my website 2 times.
Wow.
And
It's a good problem to have.
Right. I was very appreciative of that. So that's when I had finally released it. Now, how that connects to the TV stuff is before I had released the first volume, a movie studio, excuse me, one of their executives saw my work and he asked what it was. And I told him, and he said, call at 3 on Monday. He said, don't call exactly at that time. So, oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
So, I was like, okay, I'm going to call exactly at that time. So I called that Monday exactly at 3, and they put me on the phone, and he's like, okay, I'm here. Board of directors are here. President of the film company is here. And I'm like, whoa. Like, what's going on? Because at this point, I don't know what's happening. And I can hear them, and they're like, okay, you have 30 seconds to pitch it to us. And I'm like, huh? And so I went right into it. And then they were like, okay, hang on. And I heard them talking for a second. And then the president of the film company is like, I like it. Give you a TV show deal for it. And I remember looking at my phone, and I thought I was being pranked. I was like, what? No. I mean, I couldn't get publishers to publish it. I couldn't get companies to publish it. And here, a film studio is like, yes, we're going to say yes immediately after hearing what it was about. And so they were like, and on top of that, what we'll do is the deal they gave me is they said, we will let you be an executive producer and one of the lead writers on the show. You get the actual Hollywood credits for it. And since then, they've acquired multiple of my other series from my catalog. So I've got multiple TV deals that are coming to streaming worldwide. And
oh my goodness.
And it's like, I didn't set out for this to happen. I just wanted to tell my story and hope that maybe someone would like it. Now there's the TV show. Now people that I never thought I would ever work with, I'm getting to meet and to work with. 2 Steps from Hell is doing music for the anime because it's going to be an anime. It's being storyboarded in Japan as we speak by the same team who helped bring Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers to life. So that's happening literally right now as we speak. That's happening in Japan.
This is insane.
It's like it's like these things that I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought this is where my life would go, especially because no one wanted to be interested in what I was doing.
Wow.
And yet here we are. They're making the action figures, and they're like the Play Arts Kai toys. They're like 11 inches, highly detailed. They come with multiple weapons from the graphic novel that will be in the anime. It just, all of these things that I never thought would ever happen to me. And yet I'm living proof that just because companies don't want to work with you, it doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't good.
Exactly.
It just means they haven't caught up to where you're thinking. And now I've been very fortunate in the way that these things have happened, that now I have had Santa Monica Studio, I have had HBO, Blizzard Entertainment, actresses and actors from Hollywood, the very people who rejected me, people from DC, IDW, some of the top talent in comics, in publishing, in games. Now I have a testimonial list of all of the amazing and very humbling praise that they have given the series. Even the very people who rejected it have now had very kind things to say about it. And it's like everything has just kind of gone this full circle.
That's crazy.
And that's where it is today.
That is amazing.
I'm very fortunate.
Write an autobiography, Xing. Write an autobiography. Get that published. That wow. Like that's like stuff that we dream of, like happening. You know what I'm saying? Like a random discovery. It's like in a movie. You're living in a movie.
Kind of.
You're living in a movie. You just so happen to get it seen by this right person. Execs call you up. You got 30 seconds. Make the pitch, and then you. That's crazy. Wow.
And then it changed. And to date, I've sold almost 5,000 physical copies.
Wow.
Of the graphic novel. There are no digital versions. The only version that's digital is just a prelude, which is like, I think it's like 4 or 5 pages.
Okay.
And that's free. You can download it right from the website. But all the other books, they're all physical. And you know, I'm closing in on 5,000. We are so close to it.
That is amazing.
I just very, you know, so it's like I tell people all the time, it's not because of me in any way, it's because of the people who believe in you. That's what turns it into something else. It's the fans, it's the movie studio, it's these companies, it's people who say, hey, we see what you're doing, we get the big picture, and it's not limited to just the comic aspect of it, and then you share that experience with everyone, and that's what turns it into something really unique.
That's one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. That's Xing. I've talked to all types of people, and heck, I've talked to myself a few times. That is one of the most amazing stories I have ever heard.
Oh,
holy Moses! Wow.
And I try to share my story so that I can, if it can help encourage anyone who's feeling like I want to give up and I want to, you know, and I'll tell you, I'm not part of the in crowd comic community. I'm not part of the cliques. I'm not part of the, you know, the people who all build each other's Kickstarters up. I'm not part of any of those communities. I'm just a guy in his own lane who, for the most part, I still have, you know, I want to say a week ago, a person, I had commented on someone's post and was just like, you know, no matter what, the key is just important to keep going, stay, you know, just keep your head down, do the work, stay humble. Don't think that you're doing something that makes you better. No, just do what you have to do, tell your story, and just keep going. And someone had commented and they were like, do you even have a book? Do you even know what you're doing? And I laugh because it's like, you know, it's there's always
negative Nancy's out there.
Always. And you know, and like I said, I mean, I remember some of these conventions where the max capacity was 500-600 people. Now some of these shows, you know, tens of thousands, if not 100,000 people attend some of these shows now, especially pre you know, COVID stuff. And so I've been doing this a really, really long time, and it has opened doors that I never thought would be opened.
That's amazing.
And you know, and here we are, and I'm finishing the 3rd volume of Symphonic Verses. It comes out in September.
It's amazing.
And then after that, I'm taking a little bit of a break because I'm kind of
to.
I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm like, I would like to just have a little time off. But beyond that, I mean, every day is just work, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah. Wow. That is. Oh, I got so much stuff. Okay. I could talk about that for about 12 hours straight, but okay. So let's, I gotta turn down my nerddom for a second. Okay. Let's jump into all the all your great story that you put together here, the stuff that you're cooking over there at Quantum Integral Publishing. Give us the whole rundown of your story now. Symphonic. I'm terrible with words. Give us a rundown of what this story is and the arc and all that cool stuff.
So Symphonic Verses, its full title is Symphonic Verses Symphony of the Phantom Night.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It is. That's why I normally the logo is abbreviated, where it's just like the X and the treble clef and then the V. So Symphonic Verses is a thrilling action fantasy series, and basically what it's about is the main character, Adonis, is a prince from this mafia-like kingdom that's known as the Noctum Imperium. He is the last of his venerated bloodline, and he's charged with protecting the powers that have been blessed onto his family by the King of the Dragons. And so 6 months before the graphic novel starts, his wife dies. So their world has been at war for 800 years, but now it's coming to an end. And so there is a neutral kingdom called the Glass Kingdom, and that's where the treaty signing is set to take place. So he goes there to witness this historic event, although he was not involved in the conflict because where his kingdom is situated in the north. But the enemy decides, we'll go to this neutral kingdom. This is where the amnesty will take place. There he meets another princess who share a connection together. They have a power that only the two of them possess, that was blessed onto both of them. And she tells him that there is a way and a legend about being able to bring the dead back to life. And so he wants to find a way to save his wife so that he can fix things and return to him what was lost. The problem is that he has to make a choice, not between good and bad, but he's forced to choose between evil and a greater evil. So how can you do what's right when you can only do what's wrong? And that's really the dichotomy of his situation. And as the story goes on, you watch him fall further into this darkness that's driving him towards this, beautiful madness as it's consuming everything.
Beautiful madness.
The world is very Baroque in its stylings and inspirations, but the world they live in, it's called Levi Somenos V, and it's about 300 times larger than Jupiter.
Oh, good Lord!
It's a massive planet, and Levi Somenos V, it means to be under the influence of sleep. And so when readers read it, it's as if you're right between that realm of drifting off into sleep, but you're still slightly awake. And that's where the books exist, right in that access point. And so every time you read it, it's as if you're dreaming again, and helped to be guided through the story by these things that are going on.
Wow, that's deep, bro.
I mean, there are so many. It's layered in so many ways. There are so many things that are going on, but that's really just kind of the basic overall of what it's about.
Wow. And from the artwork I've seen, there's a lot of variety and cast of characters in this bad boy here. So you don't need to get into too many spoilers, because I would want everybody to just come check it out for themselves. But as far as origins of abilities, because I know everybody has something. Is this technological advances? Is this some type of energy sources? Where I see a lot of different abilities being displayed. how are people, unless it takes away from the story. Now, if it takes away from the story, please don't tell me. But how does the world work in that way?
Their world is so really it's a cross section of reality and fantasy.
Okay.
In the sense of very human emotion, things that we can all understand, but set in this very stunning fantasy world in which everything is really over the top.
Gotcha.
In its visual and aesthetic representation. As far as the powers that characters have, some of them have developed them over many, many years. Some things are blessed onto people.
Okay.
Some people are born with these great abilities. Some houses have things that were granted to them, and it's passed literally from generation to generation as like a blood right. That allows them to have these unique abilities and special powers, and so that's what makes Adonis and Sapphirос. That's what makes their situation so unique. Is not just because they're able to behold celestial light with their eyes, which is a unique power that is part of the story, but it allows them to draw weapons and powers and things from other dimensions into their world. The swords of Eon are the great powers that the houses have been warring over. The swords are sentient, and they choose who will wield them, but it's the rarest soul that can awaken their power for great good or for great evil. But most of the people who have chose to wield the swords are killed by them because their power, the brilliance of it is so overwhelming, they're not able to control it. Now, in Adonis's situation, the swords, he always asked to wield their power, even though he doesn't have to, but he does that to show respect for it. And when they come from that phantom dimension into the reality where he's at, the power of that is so great that anybody else, like, and I'll use this to show the extreme of it. If you took Superman and you put him in that world, and one of those swords got summoned, and as it was summoned and he touched the handle, it would rip his body to shreds. Okay. Because he's not worthy to wield it.
Gotcha.
Whereas Adonis, he is worthy to wield them. And so the swords interact with him in a way that they don't for anyone else. And there are people who want that power, but they also want other powers that he possesses. And Sapphiros. So it really, it's a lot of, there's a lot of action, but there's a lot of love and darkness and this impossible hope of how these characters can endure these situations.
Wow, that is really dope. Wow, that is really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
My, oh my, oh my. I love to see the way, and see, this is how I know that me and you, we like this thing. I can feel it. You took your passion and put your heart and soul into this story. I can see that and feel that this story is a part of you, and the way that you speak about it, and the way that you glow about the way you're talking about it, like this is your child. This is your Citizen Kane, your magnum opus. I can sense and feel that, and that type of passion definitely deserves to be rewarded with all the great things that has been coming your way. Your story is excellent. I love the world building. It sounds like something unique, which is rare these days. Yeah, I really love it. I really like your story. And your life story, heck, everything about it is amazing. It's great, and I'm so happy that you came here to share it with me.
Oh, you're very kind, I appreciate, I just, um, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just this guy who wants to. I just was thought if I can just tell a story and maybe one person likes it, maybe I've done something kind of right. So I'm just appreciative that the series has been able to impact people so much. I mean, I get messages from fans who they told me they've cried, they how it's affected them, how it's made them look at their lives and how they deal with situations, how they deal with things that are going on. One of the elements of the series too is it's written to help people who suffer from PTSD,
Oh
from
my.
depression, from anxiety, these things. If I can, real quick, I'd
Sure.
like to show you. So, okay. So, volume one, um, this is volume one, and all the books are magazine size.
Okay.
And that's how they're printed. They're bagged and boarded with custom black backing boards, so it fits the aesthetic of the art. So it's not,
Ooh.
it doesn't clash with that.
Fancy.
And each book comes with multiple flyers, a certificate of authenticity, a bookmark. You get the link to download the soundtrack, which is composed by Mike Roberts, who did arrangements for Castlevania. And
Wow.
so we spent 2 years working on the soundtrack for the graphic novel. So this is volume one, and it's volume one is entitled "O Rotario, a Crescendoed Waltz of Antipathy," and so that's where this opera is setting the stage for the things that are going on. Now there is a alternate cover for volume one, which is this. It's called Musique, the Golden Death Reaper's Blessing. So this is the alternate cover for volume one. And actually, if you look right there, that's the symbol of death, which is the sigil, one of the sigils Adonis's kingdom, the Noctum Imperium, uses, because it's a symbol of power and rebellion against these other houses, because their house is the greatest in the north. So then this is volume two, and volume two is called Vitruvius and the Celestial Symphony of Baroque Swords. And this one, this is the one where really I have so many people contacting me about the things that happen, the emotional elements of the things these characters are suffering through. You really see it poured out in the events that are taking place in part two. This is the volume three prelude,
Okay.
and it's called Cavatina, the Phantogram Phantasma.
Hmm.
And so, what Cavatina is like a way of saying a short, like aria,
Okay.
or opera. And so, it's just 16 pages, but it leads into volume three's full release. And volume three, which really the volumes are called consequences,
Sweet.
because each one is a consequence to the events that just went before it. And so consequence three is called Lamia, the beautifully haunted symphony of malevolence.
Hmm.
And that's, like I said, it's coming out in September. And then this is the newest release. Now, it's got the new Symphonic Verses logo. And then this is Symphonic Verses Symphony of the Phantom Night, but it's written in Chinese.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't read it.
Oh, as an homage to it being a wuxia style series. And one of the themes about the Luminous, this is the Luminous Edition. What it's used to do is to introduce new readers to the series, so that if they're not familiar with it, they can read this, and then if they find it something that they would like, then they can go ahead and order the actual graphic novels and the volume three prelude, and then this kind of helps them understand what's happening in the series and in the story.
Nice.
And all these are you can get them at symphonicverses.com on the official website. They're also available on Amazon. And if you have a local comic shop, and you'd like to have it in your shop, let them know. I've sold many books and have really good relationships with a lot of different comic shops, because even Diamond rejected me.
Jeez.
And Diamond rejected me because they said they couldn't compare it to anything in the market presently. So that's why they said no. And I'm like, but wouldn't that make sense as to why you should say yes then? If all these other things have happened, so why not? But they said that's what they said. They said it's because they couldn't compare it to anything else, so they wouldn't take it.
Isn't that just the way? My goodness. Hey, we can't compare this to nothing, so no. Moron. That's why you should take it. Come on.
I was like, okay, well, I mean, it just, so I just sell them directly, like I said, from my website, from Amazon, and from shops who work with me and order copies.
Awesome. And Xing, I'm going to leave all the links to all of your work and all the ways you can get your work in the description section below in this video.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Everybody, go check out Xing's work. I say this, I've been saying this a lot on my channel lately, but he's doing the Lord's work. He's getting it done. Like, he's doing amazing work. Support this man. Support the work he's doing. Follow him on his social media. I'm going to put all that stuff in the description section below. Xing, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing all your deep passions with us today. It's been an absolutely genuine pleasure to interview you today.
Oh, no, thank you so much. The pleasure is mine. This has been great. You have a great show. I really appreciate you taking time to have me on it. And you do a lot of great work helping people get their work seen, and because comics are tough. It's it is a tough thing to do, and if you don't have a passion for it, you won't survive the brutalness of the failures, the setbacks, the defeats, all that stuff happens. But you have to keep going, and it's great to have people like yourself who are helping get people out in front of an audience who maybe haven't had that chance. So definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So everybody, that is Xing Xin. He is the man. Definitely check out all his work. And who am I? I'm Dre the Brute Daniels. Follow me on all my dope social media platforms. I'll put right under my face. They're not there yet, but they will be at the Brute00 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if I feel like being silly, on TikTok. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. You all have been awesome, and I'll catch you all next time. Also, if you want to support my channel, check out spinwiz.com or download the Spinwiz app and check out my comic series, Trouble. It was written with a lot of love, and it was definitely my favorite comic series to write. I've also written it in English and in Spanish, so whatever floats your boat, I got it for you. Thanks again, and check it out.